Welcome everybody. We are discussing the chapter Structural Organization in Animals. This is chapter 7 of class 11th biology. We have discussed up to the skeletal connective tissue. Connective tissue is of three types: connective tissue proper, skeletal connective tissue and vascular tissue. Today we will discuss the vascular tissue. Just to remind you, let me explain this chart, the division of the connective tissue. Connective tissue is divided into three groups, that is connective tissue proper, which we have already discussed. Then the fluid connective tissue, which is also known as vascular connective tissue, which we will discuss today. And the other type of connective tissue is supporting connective tissue, which includes the cartilage and bone, which we have already discussed. So today we will be discussing the fluid connective tissue or the vascular connective tissue. And this vascular connective tissue is of two types, that is blood and lymph. The blood is contained in circulatory system and the lymph is contained in the lymphatic system. So let us start our discussion. What is blood? Blood is a fluid connective tissue containing plasma. Plasma means the fluid part of the blood which constitutes the matrix. You know that the connective tissue is having abundant matrix, and that matrix may be solid, semi-solid or liquid. So in case of blood, the matrix is liquid and that is called plasma. And the cells are embedded in the plasma. The cells are the RBC or red blood cells, WBC or white blood cells and platelets. So these three types of cells are present in the plasma, that is the matrix of the blood. And the blood is the main circulating fluid that helps in the transport of various substances to and from different parts of the body, like amino acids, the glucose, the carbohydrates, the lipids, enzymes, excretory materials, gases, etc. So everything, all the substances, the end product of digestion as well as the excretory products, all are circulated by this blood. Now let us discuss what is plasma. As I said that the blood composed of, because it is connective tissue, so it is composed of the matrix and the cells. So the matrix is called plasma, which constitutes about 5% of the body weight. And it is slightly alkaline, means basic, and its pH is more than 7, and it is a transparent fluid, and it forms 55 to 60% by volume of the blood. Now what are the blood cells, which are also called the forming elements? They are also called the blood corpuscles. They form the 40 to 50% of the blood and are of three types, that is RBC, WBC and platelets. Often we are confused with the blood plasma and the blood serum. These two are not similar thing. So let us see what are the differences between blood plasma and blood serum. Blood plasma is the fluid part of the normal blood, that is the matrix of the blood. But the blood serum is the liquid released after the blood clot. So you might have observed that when the blood clots, some fluid is left behind and the clot is separated from that fluid, and that fluid is the blood serum. The blood plasma is a faint yellow color structure liquid whereas the blood serum is a pale yellow color fluid. And the most important difference is that the blood plasma contains the corpuscles or the blood cells and fibrinogen. Fibrinogen protein is there, but in blood serum there is no corpuscles and fibrinogen. And the blood plasma, the very important function of blood plasma is that it takes part in clotting because it contains the clotting factors which helps in clotting of the blood, and one of such clotting factor is fibrinogen, whereas the blood serum does not contain any clotting factor, so it cannot help in clotting of the blood. So I think it is clear to you what is blood plasma and how it is different from the blood serum. Now here you can see this is if anybody will ask you that what is serum, can you define serum? Serum is the plasma minus clotting factor. That means plasma without clotting factor is called serum. Okay. So here in this picture you can see that here in the first test tube the blood clot is formed, and since blood clot is formed, so all clotting factors are coagulated along with the blood cells, and the fluid part left is called the serum. Okay, but here in this test tube, which is on the right side, you can see that here is the blood that contains the WBC, RBC and platelets, and the fluid part contains the clotting factors. So that's why the blood is not clot. The blood is not coagulated. So the plasma contains the coagulation factor or clotting factor, but the serum does not contain the clotting factor. So that's why the serum is the fluid that is left behind after the clotting of the blood, after all the clotting factor participate in the process of clotting of the blood. Okay, so this is the major difference between plasma and serum. Now I will show you that how the blood flows and what are the blood where the blood is contained. As you can see here, the blood vessel is there, and there are three types of blood vessels, that is artery, vein and capillaries. So here we are discussing only the connective tissue, that is vascular connective tissue, that is blood. So we will not be discussing much about the artery and the vein. So here you can see this is the blood vessel. This is a blood vessel. It may be artery or vein, and you can see that the fluid is there. This is a fluid. The whole structure is a fluid. The fluid is passing through, it is flowing through this duct, or you can say the blood vessels. And now you can see that the fluid contains three types of cells, that is white blood cells, which is white in color, then red blood cell or RBC, which is red in color, and then platelets are pale yellow in color, and the matrix which constitutes the plasma is also a light yellow color fluid. Okay. So this is how the fluid, the blood flows through a blood vessel. Now what are the characteristics of red blood cells? Now we will be discussing the different types of cells present in the plasma. The red blood cell, which is otherwise known as erythrocyte. The scientific name for RBC is erythrocyte. Their biconcave disc-shaped structure. Here you can see the structure. It is a biconcave disc-shaped structure, and it is able to readily squeeze through the capillaries. You know that capillaries are the narrow, fine branches of the arteries and veins. So while passing through the capillaries, the RBC can squeeze very easily. It is readily squeezed while passing through the capillaries. And the most important feature of this RBC is that they don't have nuclei and mitochondria. So here you can see in the picture, the cell is not having the nucleus and mitochondria is also not there. Then what is the volume of, what amount of RBC is present in a healthy human body? The average volume of RBC is 90 to 95 cubic micrometer. Okay, its average volume. Its average volume is 90 to 95 cubic micrometer. And in normal man, what is the number of RBC? It is 520,000 per cubic mm of blood. Per cubic mm of blood, the normal count of RBC is 520,000, whereas in women the number of RBC is a bit less than that of men, and it is 47,000 per cubic mm of blood. Now, what is the function of RBC? RBCs have relatively simple function as compared to the other blood cells, and why it is simple? Because they have a much simpler structure than the other body cells. The major function of RBC are supplying oxygen to the tissues and disposal of the carbon dioxide and the protons formed by the tissue metabolism. So here the RBC plays a very important role in carrying the oxygen and carbon dioxide as well as proton, that is H plus, which is formed by the tissue metabolism. And who performs this function? The RBC contains a special type of pigment, that is pale yellow color pigment, that is called hemoglobin. The hemoglobin carries the oxygen. This is the oxygen carrier. And when it carries the oxygen, then it is known as oxyhemoglobin. Okay. So this is the most important function of RBC. Now next type of cell is white blood corpuscle or WBC or leukocyte is the scientific name. So the leukocytes are nucleated, they have nucleus, they don't have any pigments, so they are colorless and they are complete cells. That means they have nucleus, they have mitochondria and all cell organelles. They are bigger than RBC, but their number is less per cubic mm of blood when it is compared with that of RBC. Okay, the number of WBC is 5,000 to 10,000 per cubic mm. Okay, so it is less than the number of RBC present in cubic mm of blood. And this WBC are the amoeboid cells. Why it is called amoeboid cells? Because the WBC cells do not have constant shape. Their shape is always changing like the cell of amoeba. That's why it is called amoeboid cells. And the WBC are formed in the red bone marrow, spleen, thymus and lymph nodes. Actually, they are produced in the red bone marrow, but they function and mature in the lymphoid organs like spleen, thymus, and lymph nodes. The life of WBC is 15 hours to 2 days. It is 2 less than the RBC. The lifespan of RBC is 120 days, whereas the lifespan of WBC is 15 hours to 2 days. Okay. Now we'll discuss different types of WBC. The WBC are mainly categorized into two groups, that is granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes are those RBC which contains certain granules in their cytoplasm. But agranulocytes do not contain any granules in their cytoplasm. So here you can see the neutrophil, eosinophil and basophil are the granulocyte. They contain specific type of granules in their cytoplasm. The lymphocytes and monocytes are the agranulocytes. That means they do not contain any granules in the cytoplasm. Now let us see what is the structure of neutrophil and what is their function. So here the first type of granulocyte is neutrophil. So why it is called neutrophil? Because the cell, this specific type of WBC, gets stained by a neutral dye. That's why they are called neutrophil. And structurally they have multi-lobed nucleus. You can see in the picture it is a single nucleus but it is multi-lobed. Okay, and what is its function? The function is very important. It is bacterial or fungal infection. If it is there, then these are the first cells which responds to the microbial infection. So the neutrophils are the phagocytic cells. So whenever any infection or any bacteria or fungus enters into the blood, then the neutrophil engulf those bacteria and fungus. So they first respond to the microbial infection in the blood. Then the next type of granulocyte is eosinophil. So here you can see the nucleus is bilobed. It is not multilobed. So it is bilobed nucleus, and it shows in case of parasitic infections, it shows it responds to the parasitic infections and it shows allergic reactions. It shows allergic reactions. Okay, so allergic reactions means when our body immune system is hypersensitive or allergic to some particular substances, then it shows that the body is allergic by showing the reaction like inflammation. Okay, then the third type of granulocyte is basophil. One more thing I forgot to tell you. Eosinophil are also known as acidophil because these type of cells can get stained by a acidic dye. Okay, acidic stain can stain this type of cell. That's why they are known as acidophil. Then basophil. Why they are basophil? Because this specific type of granulocyte can be stained by basic dye. These are bilobed or trilobed. Here you can see they may be bi or trilobed. And their function is that they are allergic and antigen response. And they release histamine causing vasodilation. So, whenever our, again I am talking about the allergy, our immune system is hypersensitive, then that is in response to the antigen. That means whenever there is any infection or any foreign body comes in contact with the blood, then this basophil release the histamine and serotonin that causes vasodilation. Okay, vasodilation means dilation of the blood vessel. Okay, then now we'll discuss the lymphocytes and monocytes, which are the agranulocytes. They don't have any granules in their cytoplasm. The lymphocytes are deeply stained and eccentric. Okay, that means when we try to stain this particular cell, then the maximum stain is deposited at the center. You can see it in the picture. Okay, and these lymphocytes are of different types. The major type of lymphocytes are B cells and T cells. Again, these B cells and T cells are divided into various types, and besides that the T helper, CD4 plus helper, then cytotoxic T cells, these are the specific type of lymphocytes. After differentiating into the specific type of lymphocytes, that is B lymphocyte or T lymphocyte, they produce the antibodies to fight against the antigen. And where do they function? Their functional site is the lymphatic system or the lymphoid organs. Then the next type of agranulocyte is monocyte. So these monocytes are having the nucleus which is kidney shaped. Okay, here you can see it is kidney shaped, and functionally they are phagocytic. That means they engulf the pathogen that enters into the blood, and also they present antigen to the T cells. So what happens whenever any pathogen enters into the body, the monocyte first try to engulf those pathogens, and after that, even after that, if pathogen remains, then these pathogens are presented to the T cells, and eventually they become tissue macrophages. They are macrophages. Macrophages we have studied in connective tissue. So macrophages are the phagocytic cells present in the connective tissue. And the function of the macrophage is to remove the dead cells, debris and attacked microorganisms. So what happens? The monocyte engulfs the pathogen, or they kill the pathogen, and after killing the pathogen, these monocytes die. Okay, and these monocytes should be removed from the cell. Then who removes this? The macrophages, after presenting the antigens to the T cell, they become the macrophages, and these macrophages remove the dead cells from the blood. Now platelets, they are also called thrombocytes. They are derived from ruptured multinucleate cells, the thromboplastin. They are megakaryocytes, means they are having very large nucleus. You can see that these are the platelet cells. They have a large nucleus. Mega means large, karyon means nucleus. So the cells are having very large nucleus, and this is the smallest of formed elements. So there are three types of formed elements: WBC, RBC and platelets. So among these three, the smallest element or smallest type of cell is the platelets. And they are the fragments of megakaryocytes. So actually it is visible as the fragments of a cell, and they don't, I mean, you can see that they can contain the fragment of nucleus, but there is no full-fledged nucleus. So here you can see the fragments of nucleus because it is formed from a very bigger cell which is having a very big nucleus, and when it divides it may contain the fragment of nucleus, but the full-fledged nucleus is not there. The normal platelet count is 300,000, or you can say 3 lakh for cubic mm of blood, and their lifespan is 5 to 9 days. And like WBC, they have amoeboid movement. Their body shape or the cell shape of the body is shape of the shell is not constant, and they play a very important role in clotting of the blood, and they constitute most of the mass of the clot. And besides that, they release serotonin, a chemical, to reduce the blood flow, okay, whenever any cut is there. And besides that, they also maintain the integrity of the blood vessel wall. That means the blood vessel will not collapse due to the presence of the platelets. So the blood vessel wall is maintained due to the presence of the platelets. Now, overall, what are the functions of the blood? So, we have separately discussed the function of different elements of the cell, elements of the blood. Now, we'll discuss the function of the blood as a whole. The blood supplies oxygen to the tissue, supply nutrients like glucose, amino acids, fatty acids to the tissue. They remove the waste like carbon dioxide, urea, ammonia, lactic acid from the tissue. They perform the immunological functions. They provide immunity to our body by circulating the white blood cells and by detecting the foreign materials called antigens, and they kill the antigens by producing the antibodies. Now, coagulation is the most important feature of the blood. The response to a broken blood vessel, the blood forms a liquid to a semi-solid gel to stop the bleeding. That is called coagulation or clotting. So, you might have observed when a small portion of your body is cut, then the blood flows out of the blood vessel because the blood vessel is ruptured. But you might have observed that after some time, the flow of blood or the release of the blood from the cut stops, and you will always see there is a clot of blood there. Why it happens? Because the blood has the ability to undergo coagulation or clotting, so that's why the bleeding is stopped. And this clot is nothing but a semi-solid gel-like structure, which is a very complex process, and it is achieved by the presence of the clotting factors in the plasma. The blood also performs the messenger functions like transporting the hormones and signaling of the tissue damage. It signals about the damage of any tissue, and it also regulates the body pH, regulates the body temperature, and it also performs the hydraulic function. Okay, so these are the function of the blood. Now the next vascular tissue is lymph. The lymph is defined as blood minus RBC but more WBC. So what is the difference between blood and lymph? The lymph contains plasma, blood contains plasma. The lymph contains WBC, blood also contains WBC, but the WBC number is more in case of lymph. In blood, RBC are there, but there is no RBC in lymph. Okay, and the lymph is the most important center for the formation of the that is antibodies, or it is the most important part of our immune system. And the center for the formation of lymph is the interstitial space. Interstitial space means in between the tissue some space is there, that is called interstitial space. So in the interstitial space these fluids are formed, or we can say the lymphs are also known as interstitial fluids or intercellular fluids or tissue fluids, which are present in between the cells of the tissue. And the exchange of materials between blood and tissue fluid occurs through the blood capillaries. I'll show you the picture how it takes place. So here you can see that this is the blood vascular system, which is composed of the capillaries. So these are the capillaries, blood capillaries, and here you can see this is artery shown by red color, and this is vein shown by blue color. And now together they form the capillaries. Now you can see that this green color vessels are the lymphatic vessels, and there is junctional points called lymph nodes. Now these lymphatic vessels are also branched, you can see, and here these small cells are there, group of cells, that is a tissue. Now in between the cells some space is there, and that contains the tissue fluid. Now that tissue fluid moves through or transports through these channels or the lymph vessels, and you can see that the lymph vessels and blood vessels are present side by side. Okay, so while the lymph is flowing through the lymph vessel and blood is flowing through the blood capillaries, there is diffusion of the substances between the capillaries and the blood vessels. How the carbon dioxide comes out of the lymph vessels and enters into the blood? By diffusion through the membrane. Similarly, the oxygen from the blood enters into the tissue fluid, then enters into the tissue by diffusion. So here you can see that they are, you can say they are forming a network-like structure, and they are present, simultaneously present at a place, and that's why they are exchanging the materials among them. Okay, so this is how the lymphatic system works. So here more clearly you can see this is the blood vascular system, and here you can see this is the lymphatic system. Okay, and suppose say this is a lymph node from where many lymphatic vessels have been arised. Okay, so this is the lymphatic node from where the lymphatic vessels are arised, and you can see that this particular lymphatic vessel is supplied and it is in connection with the blood vessels, so that the materials that is carried from the lymphatic tissue will be transported to the blood. Then again here you can see that this is the collecting lymphatic vessel, which collects the materials from the blood vessel and carry it to the lymph node. So in this way the lymphatic vascular system and blood vascular system are in connection with each other, and they exchange the materials between them. Okay, so if you find it difficult, then please pause this particular slide and go through this so that it will be very much clear to you. I am repeating The lymph node is the organ or the part of the body from where many lymph vessels are arised and many lymph vessels have released. So here you can see this is the lymph vessel which have been released into the lymph node, and this is the lymph vessel that moves away from the lymph node. So here it contains the mass of tissue, and you know that these are the sinuses which contains the tissue fluid. Now this tissue fluid carrying essential substances is now in contact with the blood vessel, and it transports the essential substances to the blood vessel. Similarly, the blood circulates that essential substance throughout the body. Then after that, the tissue or the fluid collects the substances from the blood vessels or the blood capillaries by the collecting lymphatic system, and the collecting lymphatic system also produces the capillaries. So the blood capillaries as well as lymphatic capillaries are present side by side. The exchange of the material takes place between them. Then these collected materials are sent to the lymph node. Now function of lymph. The basic function of lymph is to bring back into the vascular circulation. I have already discussed. It brings the cell debris. Suppose some cell are died, the tissues are destroyed, and if some large colloidal particles are there, and these substances are carried to the blood, and the blood will carry these waste materials to the target organ for their removal. Okay. Now what happens, the part of the blood plasma that had diffused out from the arterial capillaries is brought into the venous capillaries once again. Besides that, the WBC present in the leaf are functioning as that of the WBC present in the blood. And one more thing I'll tell you here, that this WBC performs the defense mechanism. It provides a defense system to our body. And very important, children, remember, in intestinal wall, the lymph capillaries are called lacteals. Actually, you in class 10th you have studied that the after digestion of the carbohydrate, the glucose is formed. After digestion of the protein, the amino acids are formed, and these glucose and amino acids are directly absorbed into the blood vessels. But the end product of lipid digestion, that is the fatty acids, cannot be absorbed by the blood vessels directly. Rather, they are first absorbed into the lacteals. What are lacteals? Lacteals are the lymph capillaries present in the intestinal wall. Then from the lacteal capillaries, it is transported to the blood capillaries. Okay, so this is very important, which is essential for the absorption of the fat, that is lacteals. So here once again the lymphatic system, particularly here very briefly I have described the function of lymphatic system. It transports clean fluid back to the blood. It drains excess fluid from the tissue and transfers to the blood. It removes the debris from cell of the body. Suppose say any cell organelle or cell itself dies and destroys, then that is carried to the bloodstream. Then it transports fat from the digestive system. So I hope this vascular tissue, connective tissue is clear to you. Especially the lymphatic system is a complete a new topic for you, and I hope it is very much clear to you. And if any doubt is there, then you can ask me the doubts in the comment section. And thank you for watching. In next session, we will be discussing the muscular tissue and the nervous tissue. Thank you once again for watching the video till end. If you have not subscribed my channel, I request you to subscribe it to watch more videos related to biology of class 11th and 12th. So thank you once again for watching the video till end.